Well, thank you, Dad, for those kind words. Thinking about those probabilities, I think growing up in your household, the idea that I would not be passionate about the dead, I'm not sure how that could happen. You did force me to read all 6 of your books, and so I don't think that was quite the miracle you're portraying it to be. But seriously, Dad, thank you for the trust you've placed in me, for the partnership that we've had together these last 8 years and counting on the foundation, and most importantly, for dedicating your life and resources to these issues. It's very important to my generation and to my kids' generation, so thank you. And thank you all for coming to our 7th annual Fiscal Summit. This year's summit is called Leadership for a Secure Future. So what do we mean by secure? Well, first of all, we mean fiscal security. So that's an affordable budget, a predictable budget, a sustainable budget. We also mean economic security, economic growth, productivity growth, job security, mobility. And we also very much mean national security, both at home and abroad. And the truth is that a stable fiscal foundation is essential to all of these things. A sustainable budget is necessary for a strong economy, and a sustainable budget and a strong economy are necessary for our national security. So where are we now on the national debt? Well, over the last few years, we've had a bit of a lull in the action. In 2009, we had a massive $1.4 trillion deficit. That was the peak. It's gradually come down. Last year, it was $438 billion. Still a big number, but obviously much lower. This year, unfortunately, we're at a turning point because the era of shrinking deficits has now come to an end. Deficit will be up this year to $534 billion. And by 2022, unfortunately, we'll be back to trillion-dollar-plus deficits once again. However, this foundation is all about the longer-term future. Over the long term, the debt still remains on an unsustainable and dangerous path. Within 25 years, debt as a share of GDP will be 131% under current law, or 175% under less optimistic assumptions. So given that most economists suggest staying below 60%, either double that or triple that are both very dangerous. So why is this level of debt important? Well, first, it affects our budget. Interest costs will grow. Over the next 10 years, we'll spend $6 trillion on interest expense alone. It's become our fastest growing category of the budget. This year, we're electing a new president. If that president were to serve 2 terms, by the end of the 2nd term, interest expense would be the 3rd largest program in the federal budget. It's unbelievable. Our growing debt also reduces our fiscal flexibility. If we have another economic crisis, high levels of debt would constrain our ability to dig our way out. In addition, our growing debt affects our economy. Rising interest costs crowd out investments like education, research and development, and infrastructure. This hurts our future competitiveness. It also takes capital away from private investments. The more debt the government takes on, the less capital is available for job creation and innovation in the private sector. In addition, it hurts confidence, which impacts the economy, and it also risks the safety net. Without a sustainable budget, the safety net and all those who depend on it are put in jeopardy, and we can't let that happen. Debt can also diminish our leadership role in the world. There are many serious threats in the short term, but over the next generation, what could truly harm our society is our national debt. Unchecked, our growing debt would damage our economic leadership, military posture, and strength as a nation. Our ability to confront the greatest threats of tomorrow are dependent on the decisions that our leaders make today. So here we are, it's the 2016 election. We think this is an ideal opportunity for a national conversation between citizens and candidates on these issues. They're not talking a lot about this, but we think they should. First, because this is really important. Strong leadership is required to secure America's future. We can't solve this without a committed and strong U.S. president. But second, because voters care about it. According to our recent surveys, 85% of voters want the president and Congress to spend more time addressing the national debt. 80% of voters agree that the national debt should be among the top 3 national priorities. So this cuts across party lines. Voters want a plan, and they want our leaders to act. So today we'll touch on all these issues. We'll be hearing from current and former CBO directors about the debt problem, the threats to our economy, and solutions available to the next president. You'll be hearing from the Coalition for Fiscal and National Security. This is a bipartisan group of 23 high-level former officials. It's chaired by Admiral Mike Mullen, who's here today, and he'll be joined by Secretary Chuck Hagel and Senator Sam Nunn. This coalition just yesterday issued a new statement outlining the urgent need for fiscal health as a foundation for our global leadership. We'll also hear from leaders in Congress about where this issue stands and the opportunities to address it in 2017. And we'll hear from the presidential campaigns themselves. We have economic advisors coming today from both the Clinton campaign and the Trump campaign. And throughout the day, you'll see videos from voters nationwide. This year, we did focus groups in Nevada, Ohio, and Florida, and we'll share with you how they feel about the national debt and what they expect from their candidates. So in conclusion, despite some improvements in the deficit, the national debt is still on an unsustainable and dangerous long-term path. Our debt threatens our fiscal security, our economic security, and our national security. There are many solutions out there. We all know what we need to do here. And voters understand that our prosperity and security depend on our fiscal health, and they want action. So let's begin by hearing from some real voters around the country. Thank you very much.